Hey again, everybody. It's Ron at Becoming Enlightened Together. Just to recap real fast, I missed again almost an entire week, or at least a good half of the week, as far as readings go, because I was, taking care of my ward. I'm a caretaker on top of everything else I'm trying to do and get done. So I sometimes just don't have enough time or the energy really to do the things that I want to do, such as this, my music, and other things. But it is what it is, and I'm back here now, so I'm trying to make up for at least the last 3 days. We're going to go ahead and look at this week's energy, and by this week I mean the week of the 16th of August all the way to the 22nd, which is the following Saturday. So Sunday to the next Saturday. And we're going to pull a rune as far as the overall energy, not only for the week, but for each individual day as well. And the rune I just pulled for the overall energy of the week is that of Sowilo, which is ordinarily, at least in the upright, a very powerful and good rune. It's the one that Nazis adopted. The SS and the lapel comes from that rune, Sowilo. It's like the Sun card in the tarot deck. It's very, very powerful, one of the most powerful ones in the deck. Now, what it talks about in reverse, however, is somebody basically or somebody's experiencing blocked energy at this point, a sense of obscurity. Nothing is really clear to them. They're stagnant as a direct result of that, obscurity. They're hesitant, but this is also somebody who's basically very self-centered, ego-driven, just like we saw for the last, 3 weeks now. Somebody who basically has false goals, both gives and receives bad counsel from others. Somebody who's extremely gullible, destructive. We got somebody who is seemingly on a warpath, wanting retribution for something that's happened in their life. But this is somebody who is experiencing the casting down of vanity from above and basically is under the wrath of God. So they are really going through it, whoever that is. So if they aren't yet, I assure you it's not going to be a pretty sight for whoever this is or whoever these people are. So false goals and success, just somebody who, like I said for the closeout of last week, is a little delulu, um, just not seeing things the way that they are. Their pride has clouded their thinking to such a degree. They try to create a scenario they just simply cannot maintain in their own minds because everything is going contrary to what they want to believe or what they have possibly gotten away with majority of their life. They're used to getting their way, whoever this is. So that is the overall energy of the week. So we're going to have yet another week, a whole month of weeks where it looks like they're really, really focusing on those who are basically not only going through the dark night of the soul potentially, but I think they're faking it, whoever that is. They're not doing any of the work. That's clear. Their mind is definitely elsewhere. They're still under the mindset of lying, cheating, stealing, doing whatever it takes to move forward and to keep all their secrets hidden. But as we saw for the close of last week on Saturday, that's precisely what's happening. Everything they've been doing in secret is about to be or has already been revealed. So again, that's right out of the words of Scripture too for those who are Christians out there. And you're going to find it elsewhere as well. It's not just a Christian concept by any stretch of the imagination, but that's what they're facing. So what we saw for today's energy overall is that of the Gibo. And this is another very powerful rune when it's in the upright, but it too is in the reverse. So not only do we have a reversal, in fact what we have out of the 8 runes that I pulled, 7 for each day of the week and 1 for the overall encompassing energy, the umbrella that every day is more or less fitting underneath. Gibo is also in the reverse. So the wishing rune, of joy and many other things that come with it, is in the reverse. So it talks about imbalances of many types. And I keep reiterating over and over and try to show you and give you proof that it's a real universal law. And we find it again in esoteric writings, occultic writings. We find it in every exoteric book to some degree, and we find it in the Hermetic works as well. The laws of reciprocity, the laws of conservation of energy. We see it, the laws of thermodynamics. We see it echoed everywhere. So somebody is basically very imbalanced in this reading. And again, I believe it's the same people we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. So this is also somebody who's very greedy. They're feeling lonely. Maybe they've been isolated, whether they've isolated themselves or because they have been more or less kicked out of the friend zone or some type of a relationship, maybe even a family circle. I don't know. But it's somebody who's become very dependent, somebody who is toiling, somebody who is suffering setbacks, monetarily speaking. So privation of all types. Somebody who's trying to bribe their way out of a situation. Somebody who has a problem with the root of an emotional manner or nature. So again, it could be something that stems from childhood situations, if you will, trauma that they have just simply never dealt with. And as a result, it is having its way with them. They basically are, I don't want to say empty vessels, but they're easily manipulated, and they like to manipulate others as well. So they're getting a taste of their own medicine, whoever this is. Now, Tuesday's energy, tomorrow's energy, is that of Degas. Now, Degas also is in the reverse. 5 out of the 8 that I pulled are reversed, so that gives you an idea of the energy overall for the week. Not looking good, but it's really focusing on, again, those who are on our lives, who are trying to come back, wanting to come back, karmic individuals who just are so either lazy or they're not putting any effort, no work whatsoever. They're trying to blame everything and everybody around them for everything that's going wrong in their life, not taking any responsibility. That's what we're seeing over and over and over. But Degas in the reverse talks about radical changes. Spirit is rattling their cage, trying to wake them up, and they're just being completely stubborn about it. So it talks about completions of some type, endings of some type, reaching your limits, somebody going in circles, somebody who's blind and feeling hopeless at this point. There's always hope. I mean, it may not seem like it sometimes, and yes, you can come up with a scenario where it would seem there is no solution to that hopelessness, but there is always. It's your perspective about something, really. That doesn't mean that the worst case scenario is you're going to be, happy and and all that kind of stuff. If we're talking about the end of all things kind of a scenario, but even that, if your heart, your soul, and everything else is in the right place, it's not as calamitous as it would be for the person who is absolutely just overcome with fear and not knowing and those kinds of things. They create a situation where they're just incapable of moving, thinking, or acting in any way, shape, or form. And that's kind of what we're seeing with these people, whoever they are. Now, Wednesday's energy is that of Ewas. Where did you go? Ewas. Some of these runes are getting so worn I can barely even see them. Okay, so Ewas. Looks like an M, I know, but it's their letter E. This is the first one in the upright out of the 4 we've pulled so far. So Ewas in the upright talks about movement that works. It's not sudden change. It's not chaos or force. There's no fireworks or anything like that. This is progress created through cooperation and trust with others or with an organization or something along those lines, okay? So again, I always use the analogy of a horse and a rider. They have to work together. If the rider doesn't know what he's doing, he's not standing up on those stirrups, at a certain point in each gallop, then he's good, or she, even a girl, would hurt them just as badly, perhaps. And if the horse hasn't been broken, it could be a very tricky ride too. But a horse and a carriage, things of that nature, working together to get from point A to point B. Okay, that's what it's talking about. So, it talks about future changes in transportation of every type, change, movement for the better. And that's what this movement is. This is movement for the better in this case. And that's what we're going to see for Wednesday. And it talks about development and progress as well as teamwork. So Wednesday would be an ideal day to get together with somebody that you might be partner up with to get something done or accomplished, or maybe start something new. Okay. Now Thursday's energy is that of Manas, and it too is in the upright. Actually, these are the only two in the upright. 6 out of 8 that I pulled are actually reversed. Wow. Alright, so Manas in the upright. Well, what does that mean? Well, Manas in the upright talks about being a human being in all of its complexities, okay? Not about the gods, not superhumans, but just regular, run-of-the-mill, average human beings, going about their business, doing the things that they do, the way they do them, and so on, the way they think, their thoughts, their memories, their identity, cooperation in groups, things of that nature. It talks about conflict as well. So it talks about the yin and yang as far as interactions between people go. It talks about reflecting. It talks about it being the mirror. Who you are and how other people also perceive you, how you also perceive others. That's more or less what we're talking about. It's both shaping oneself and being. For some, that could mean trying to build a better mask. For others, it could mean truly chipping away at that mask and finding out who you really are and being it. Okay, so that's Thursday's energy. Now, the Friday and Saturday are also in the reverse. So Friday's energy, we have the god Freyr showing up, or Ing is another way that he's addressed. Okay. It's his rune, but unfortunately, and he's the twin brother of Freya. Basically, it's in the reverse. So any one of the runes that represent gods, typically, if they're in the reverse, it's usually not so good. So we're talking about, somebody who's self-absorbed, impatient, scattered, basically movement without direction or change of any way, shape, or form. They're just doing busy work without actually really accomplishing anything. It's just, for show more than anything. So they're having a disassociation with their environment. They're really not seeing things for what they are. They're trying to project something the way they want it to be perceived by others, but it's not working anymore. So this is somebody who is also very bottled up at this point, ready to blow. Somebody who gets what they want or tries to achieve it through seduction. Talks about somebody who tries to fool others into thinking that something they've done has been completed rather than it being only the first stages of something. In other words, they're still putting on a facade or lie. And again, meaningless motion, or motion without any real rhyme or reason, kind of a thing. So that's Friday's energy. And remember now, this is not a linear thing that we're talking about. Even though I do things by day and by week, you have to understand that that's more or less for the collective's ability to understand where they are, or whatever the case may be at that moment. But as I've always stated, these are all timeless readings, so it's for whenever you actually tune into this. Whether it's actually right now, or whether it could be a year or 10 years from now. Whenever you stumble upon it, that's when it was meant for you, and there'll definitely be something in there for you. And in rare occasions, all of it could be for you. Okay, so just take what, as they often say in most of the divination, um, or the readers that I have watched, they'll tell you basically to trust what you resonate with. But sometimes you don't know if it resonates with you or not, as it hasn't happened in your life, or you have no physical proof, that these things have actually or are actually occurring in your life until it does. You could be, not just miles away, but maybe even countries away from some of the people that we're talking about here who are, somehow related to you in a spiritual sense through past lives or perhaps this life. And, you know, you may not know what's going on in their particular life, but they are thinking and maybe even watching. In some cases, it's clear they are definitely watching you, whoever this is or whoever they are. It often points to one person in particular, it seems, at times. But most of the time it's in these readings, it talks about, a group, maybe just a small group, 2, 3 people. But other times it looks like it might be, just a whole family circle or friend circle, or it could be some type of an institution or secret society or whatever. It's hard to really point to that in some cases. Sometimes it tells us, sometimes it just doesn't. It just alludes to the idea there's more than one person who is in this energy. So keep that in mind too. Okay. Now, Ing or Freyr in the reverse, again, it talks about impatience, somebody self-absorbed, somebody who's disassociated with their own environment. Again, it's just very bad energy, meaningless motion, going in circles, putting on a facade, getting people or hoping that people will believe their version of events, regardless of the truth that they may already have in their possession, or things that they've already seen, or things that have been revealed in their personal life. Some of these people, as we saw in the last reading, are trying to figure out how much somebody knows about what's going on. I can tell whoever it is that's watching this, if you just happen to be in the secondary mindset or spiritual side, as far as being in the karmic or undecided position, whatever it is you've been trying to keep hidden is known. Okay. Whether all of it is known, I can't say with a certainty, but far more than you want to have revealed is known. So it's always best to cut the head off of the snake and just say, I am responsible for that. I have done this. I see the error of my ways, and I do not intend on repeating that. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to cover up your past lies with greater lies, and you're going to get to a point where not only is nobody ever going to trust you again, but everybody's going to start to pull away from you because you're a person that is not worthy of, friendship or let alone trust. Forgiveness is something it's asked for. You don't just simply forgive everybody, every single offense that they have committed against you without some type of recompense, without some type of, trying to make amends for what they've done. Not just words, but actions. And that's what we're looking at, okay? These people, whoever they are not willing to put any type of physical action into, to work or to play in this particular sense. And we've seen that again and again and again over the last couple of weeks, last month. So, last day for the week, or Saturday, is that of Lagus. And Lagus also is in the reverse. Ordinarily talks about person's emotions, talks about the divine feminine aspect or the feminine aspect in general in terms of, things hidden, things mysterious, intuition, occultic abilities, things of that nature. But this is in the reverse. So what we're talking about is somebody trying to escape from something, somebody who gives into temptation repeatedly, somebody who's very greedy, somebody who does acts against their own conscience repeatedly. They know it's wrong. They know why it's wrong, but they do it again and again and again because they just want that dopamine fix or whatever the case may be. So they're in a state of confusion. They're making many bad decisions, poor judgment. They're lacking creativity because a lot of their spiritual gifts have been pulled from them. They've been using them in a low vibrational manner. And even though they have been given a state of grace, they've been given time period to recognize and then, make some kind of moves in regards to doing that which is right. They've chosen not to, so they're going to be losing more than just some of the material things that they have. Fear is a big part of this energy. Somebody, again, who's going in circles. They're not doing anything, meaningless motion. Just busy, 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 doing nothing, going nowhere. Somebody who's very avoidant. Somebody who is actually drifting off into potential madness. Again, obsession. We're seeing that word again and again and again. Somebody is obsessed with you out there in the collective. Somebody who is possibly drifting off into despair, perversity, sickness, and even potentially suicide. And if you are in that particular energy and you need somebody to talk to, just reach out to me. If you have nobody else, I will listen to you. If you ask for advice, I will try to give you the best advice that I can. But otherwise, I'll simply just listen to you. Okay? Because I don't want anybody to be in this state of mind and think that there's nobody out there they can talk to. Now, granted, you may have earned that particular, type of karma in your life by your past actions. And, it's not our job to make your karma more bearable for you. Because the whole point of the karma is to get you to do what you have already chosen not to do, even though it is in your best interest. It is the right thing. It is what you were literally contracted to do, if you want to look at it from that perspective. And many people do believe that. That before we came down to this life and reincarnated, if you believe in that, you had basically signed some type of a contract, perhaps. And, you were going to do this, that, you're going to meet this people, that people, you're going to do these things together, and so on and so forth. And whoever we're talking about has decided to go the other direction, because they only care about themselves at this point. But that's going to change. So, anyways, they're in a period of confusion currently. Of madness, obsession, despair, perversity, sickness, and suicide. Very, very, it's a terrible thing to see, but that's the energy. It's there, so I'm not going to turn away from it. Although I would really like Spirit and my guides to allow me to have some better readings from time to time. And I'm really trying to reflect on the notion that this is not because of the things that I'm experiencing that they're bleeding off into these readings, because everything I do in typical divination style, where you're doing it indiscriminately. You're not picking anything, by visualizing and then say, that's the one I want, putting it in a very specific, place in the reading. No. And sometimes I get readings, I say, this can't be right. How can that be right? That just doesn't make sense, But then I start looking at it in its entirety, and I see that, this is exactly the way it has to be, because it's telling a story. And the story is about someone or someones who have been at a crossroads for quite a while now, and they've been told to think about it and given a great deal of grace to do just that, and have just simply been taking their time, dragging their feet, doing nothing. They're not making any moves. They're in their heads. They think by thinking of doing this or doing that, that's enough, but it's not. I'm trying to tell you it's not. Whoever this is for, you have to do something. And I know that Nobody among us really wants to hear that, especially from a stranger. I get it. I do. And I'm sorry it has to come from my lips to you, whoever you are. But that's the energy. And I have to be faithful to what it is that I've been given. So, for whoever it's for. So somebody, for you collective, or somebody's, is basically not doing so well. And it doesn't look like that they have any idea at all that they are their own worst enemy. They have created this hell on earth for themselves. And if they're not already in the middle of it, they will be very, very soon. It's just becoming overwhelmingly powerful and too consistent to say otherwise. Anyways, I wish I had something truly positive to share. We got a couple of good days this week, but for the most part, it's really focusing on the very low vibrational energy that is present at this moment. So, but it goes along with the things that were going on with Mercury retrograde and all these kinds of things, which those things which were done in secret are being revealed, and people who have been not willing to do the work or wanting to do the work are being now forced into doing what it is they're supposed to do, or suffering dire, consequences otherwise, and then having to repeat everything, which is going to be even harder the next time around in another life. It's my belief that's how it works. It makes sense to me, and it follows along with everything else that I, often, talk about or recite, to try to help you guys to understand that this is not just an opinion from me. A lot of these things actually come from a multitude of actual sources that are both scientific, exoteric, esoteric, and occultic. So when you have all those things in agreement in some way, fashion, or form, it's a universal law. It's there for a reason. Okay? So you can fight it all you want. You can think you know everything there is to know about everything, but where has it gotten you? You think that your easy life up to now, or your circumstances that have gone the way that you want, because apparently whoever this is, they're used to getting their way. Those days are over. Accept it, or find out just how serious spirit can be as far as pushing you along to move. Alright, so with that being said, stay victorious. Excuse me. Sorry. Damn. And I will see you in a couple more minutes. We're going to do Monday's reading next, okay? What I call Monday's reading, but again, it's timeless, so just trying to make up for the days that I haven't been posting and so on, so you don't think that I'm just negating or neglecting my responsibility. I do see this as somewhat of a responsibility. I'm not, obliged to do it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm investing my time and effort for the collective where I can, and that's how we change the world. By being the change we want to see. So I make the effort with that mindset, and I hope you'll understand. Not just shake your head and say, "Oh, here we go again, another excuse." If you knew my life, you'd be a little bit more understanding. But I'm not here to share that with everybody. But there's other people I have to look after other than myself. I raised 4 kids of my own. I had a crazy ex-wife who fought me every day, almost. I didn't live with her anymore at that point. I was raising my kids. But, and that's all another story. I won't go any further than that. I just say that she made life very difficult for me. And, that was the only income, and it just was not an easy time in my life that I did it, and they're all very successful kids. They're all doing very well for themselves in their own ways, and I don't try to control what direction they go or anything like that. I just, try to be supportive of whatever it is that they do now that they are grown-ups. Whatever decisions they make, even if I don't necessarily agree with what they do. It's their life to do as they wish. And just like we're seeing here, you have free will. And freedom to me is one of the most important things of all time. So I will do whatever it takes for my own freedom, but I will also try to help others to retain their own as well, true freedom. And again, I don't want to get off into another tangent because I could be here all day talking about it, and I often do. So take care, stay victorious, God bless, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.